Yo guys, what is going on? Blossom is back and welcome back to another episode of Top Drives and another episode of Overrated or Overpowered. In fact, this is the final episode of Overrated or Overpowered part 5 out of 5. So we're going to review the final 8 cars, wrapping up the 40 cars that I have reviewed in this series. So once again guys, thank you so much for all of the support that you put into the Overrated or Overpowered series. It's one of the best series that I've had on my channel, probably of the year so far. So I really enjoy basically all the support that you guys have been giving. We're gonna end with a bang with some of the best cars in the game. So we're gonna begin with the Mitsubishi Raider Baja. Now, why this car has a lot of potential in my opinion is because it handles very well. It's got four-wheel drive and off-road, and it's a direct replacement to the Nissan Frontier Attack. And over here, as you can see in the dirt comparison, it speaks for itself. It is the best car for everything besides the slalom, only losing to the Renault R20 Turbo 4x4 on that track, and it definitely beats the Nissan Frontier Attack, which used to be, you know, your handling four-wheel drive off-roader beast. But then again, this car got nerfed, basically got a handling cut, went down in RQ, isn't the best option anymore. And obviously, to add more salt to the injury, the Mitsubishi Raider Baja came in and it became, you know, the best car with the better handling, blah blah blah. I wouldn't be surprised in the future in another Japanese update, the Raider Baja, oh wow, surprise surprise, gets a handling cut, another pickup truck comes in, and oh surprise surprise, it's a better car. But I digress. As it stands, the Baja is the car to own in this niche of four-wheel drive high ground clearance off-roaders. Same thing in the snow and the sand, it still is the best car, only losing in slalom situations in the sand and the snow to, you guessed it, the R20 Renault, but it is able to beat the Dodge Ram 2500, the Nissan Frontier Attack, which are, you know, its main competitors. So obviously the Frontier Attack used to be Blossom choice, but the Raider Baja is a direct competitor and a direct replacement. Now I'm going to open up the playing field. I'm going to take away those high ground clearance four-wheel drive off-roaders, going to put in some rear-wheel drive and front-wheel drive cars, and as you can see, this is where it kind of falls behind. Best car in the motocross, but that was a given. It loses to the Lancia and the Fiat in basically every single track set. What I think is relatively interesting is when there's a break point, I guess somewhere between epics, where four-wheel drive off-roaders far surpass anything rear-wheel drive and front-wheel drive can provide, which is kind of funny because when it comes to ultra rares, super rares, maybe even rares, rear-wheel drive tends to be more useful than your four-wheel drive off-roaders. I think rares a little bit different. I think that Triton has everybody's number, but aside from that, super rares in particular, really interesting, where four-wheel drive actually isn't that useful in the dirt. That being said though, when it comes to snow and sand, this is where the Baja becomes a lot more useful, becoming the best option for G-force snow, hairpin snow, twisty snow, and you name it, you can see it over here. In the sand, however, the accolades still go to the Fiat 124, where it really looks like rear-wheel drive is basically more favored on the sand conditions or on the sandy conditions, and four-wheel drive is more favored on the snow. So with all those times taken into account, I believe that the Mitsubishi Raider Baja is the best for the four-wheel drive super rare niche, as long as it's not slalom, as well as anything to do with the snow. Definitely is going to be Blossom choice in the future. I don't know why the background popped up again. I guarantee you I definitely deleted the background, but for some reason, sometimes, you know, glitches happen. But yes, it definitely is going to be Blossom choice. Hopefully there are no more of those background glitches though. Moving on is the Mazda Mazdaspeed, the one and only common in this series. It's the first common that you've seen in the Overrated series, or Overpowered, and is the final one that you're all gonna see as well. So let us get straight into it. Putting it up against, you know, medium ground clearance, performance tire commons, it's the best car there. Best on the city medium and anything super twisty, but the fast circuit and the city street small still goes to the Audi Coupe GT. So both of those cars are really your front runners when it comes to medium ground clearance, common, basically meta. They are your front runners, and it's very evidently so because they're the only two RQ19s. Everything else is, you know, RQ18 and below. But one thing to take note is that Punto is the best car for the hairpin, so that's relatively impressive. And of course the Tirana, for some reason, is the best car for Canyon Tour. All very surprising. Anyway, it's a good car for the city streets medium within its niche, for medium ground clearance commons. But when you put it up against all the Blossom choice commons like the Nissan 260, the Honda Beat, blah blah blah, it's really only the best car for city streets medium. It's still pretty good on karting circuit, slalom, and twisty circuit, but you got better options in the Honda Beat and the Nissan 260. I know a lot of people can probably say, oh, it's not a fair comparison, because those are low ground clearance cars that should be only be competing or comparing the Mazda Demio to medium ground clearance cars, and I did. I was just super curious to see how far above its weight the Demio speed could hit. So not that far, but still really, really good, and I think it's definitely going to be Blossom Choice. Actually, it is going to be Blossom Choice. I've already done the common Blossom Choice list. So yeah, very cool, very good for common medium twisties. It is part of the meta now. Moving on to the third car in this list is going to be the Bufori BMS R1. Now, the Bufori BMS R1 is great value in my opinion. It handles incredibly well. It's light and it's got a low 0 to 60 for 75 RQ. So let's get into it as well. As you can see right here, very impressive stuff. The Bufori definitely hits above its weight. I'm comparing it up against RQ 77s and 78s. No 76s involved in this comparison, but I digress. It can beat 77s and 78s. And I think the biggest thing about the Bufori is that it beats its direct competitor in the Mazda 254. I get it, the Mazda is Japanese, the Bufori is Malaysian, but they're both slick tire rear-wheel drive cars. They're both white, for whatever that means. If that brings any value at all, I don't think so, because we never used the color tags in top drives. That being said, though, they're also both from the biggest elephant in the room is that they're both from the same update. And the Mazda is obviously more expensive to use, but the Bufori seems to be the better car in the twisty scenario. Competing against the Ford Mustang GT4, the TVR Tuscan race car, and even the Nissan GTR LM, the Bufori beats it on the G-Force indoor karting circuit and twisty road, which is very, very impressive. It also is a very good option on the car park, the hairpin, and the slalom, only losing to the Motorsport Elise at 71 RQ on the slalom, losing only to the Ford Mustang on the hairpin, being the second best option by 0.01 seconds, and only losing to the Ford Mustang GT4 on the car park. So the Bufori, very, very impressive. That being said, though, let's put it in a more open, general competitive environment. So I'm putting the BMS R1, and I threw in the Mazda 254 in here because why not? I'm putting it up against the performance tire cars, okay? Some super hybrid cars, some all-rounder cars like the Saleen S1, the Porsche 911 GT2, the Aston Martin Vantage, blah blah blah. And the Bufori is really, really good. It's the best car for car park, G-Force, indoor karting, slalom. It kind of falters everywhere else. Even on the twisty road, it isn't even the best option anymore, but it can hold its weight against RQ 79s and 78s, etc, etc. So very impressive stuff from the Bufori, so much so that I wanted to compare it against Blossom Choice Epics. Yeah, no, and this is where it falters. Obviously, the Blossom Choice Epics being the Jetta G50 as well as the Lotus Exige GT3, and rightly so, they are still the best. The Lotus GT3 being the best for G-Force indoor karting slalom, and the Jetta G50 GT4 being best for everything else. That being said, though, the Bufori is a great bargain at 75, beating a lot of cars, above its RQ. I believe it's the best in 79 and below G-Force karting twisty road, within its comparison and within its niche of being slick tire cars. I think it's really good. Definitely way above average, even better than good. I don't think it's going to take a Blossom Choice spot, but it still is a fantastic car to own. And there's a 996 Porsche and a Ferrari in the background, so that's also really cool. All right, before we get back into the series, obviously I talked about this briefly in the last episode of the series. YouTube is literally taking my rightful earnings and they're cutting 50% of it. As you can see, before August 10th, I was making about $4.85 per 1,000 views, and then after August 10th, it's been cut by more than 50%. My YouTube channel is really small. I get less than 100,000. I mean, less than 50,000 subscribers even. So what I'm trying to say is that my account is too small for YouTube to even care. I've sent in so many forms. I've submitted so many forms. I've sent in so many requests for YouTube to look into the situation, and they're just being a complete bitches about it. So if you would like to help me out, because I'm barely making anything from YouTube anymore, my Patreon link will be in the description below. Thank you so much if you decide to support. Anyway, moving on to the back of the series, or moving back into the series, we go to the Hyundai Santa Cruz. Why the Hyundai Santa Cruz is in this comparison is because it is the best all-surface tire car this update has to offer for ultra rares and below. So let's see how good it actually is against all our other 64 RQ compatriots. shits for the all-surface tire niche. It sucks. It's terrible. It loses to the Nissan X-Trail on the slalom and the G-Force in the sand and the snow. Loses to the Ford Explorer and Ocean Beach Slalom, and it loses to the Holden HSV Avalanche in almost everything. So yeah, not a good showing in the sand and the snow, but maybe it may make a comeback in the dirt. The answer is no. The Santa Cruz doesn't win anything. It's a pseudo RQ64. I don't know why it's there. The Nissan X-Trail still getting a lot more value. The Holden Avalanche still getting a lot more value. Really baffles me that the Nissan and the Holden, which were both seen as RQ64s, has gone down to 63s. Because if anything, the Hyundai does not win anything. The Nissan and the Holden are still better cars. So in my opinion, the Hyundai Santa Cruz is indeed overrated. Might be the best all-surface tire car, ultra and below from the update, but it's the best in nothing. All right, moving on. Only about 3 or 4 more cars to go. We got a really big heavy hitter over here, the Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution 6 RS. Is this the best standard tire car in the game? Yeah, it is. Just long story short, it is. Best car for almost everything. Obviously, the RQ90 BMW 750 is still the best car in city streets. Small, hairpin road, fast circuit, and some of the Monaco streets. But that isn't really fair because there are no times for the Evo 6 on the hairpin, twisty road, and canyon tour. And again, you know, this is like, yeah, obviously the BMW gets to win some races, but we need to remember that the BMW is also 9 RQ more than the Lancer Evolution 6 RS. It's actually ridiculous. Also, I wanted to put in the 111 Evolution RS to see how good that would be, and it actually beat some of the Epics at 111, which is really sad on the Epics part. But yeah, the Lancer Evolution is ridiculous. It's a force to be reckoned with. To make it a slightly more fair comparison, I went 111 on everything because there are more times, and as you can see, on a mountain, hairpin, and twisty road, the Evolution 6 is better than the 750. It's fair to say that if you're the best car at 111, you're gonna be the best car at 223 as well. So yeah, man, the fact that the Lancer is winning the majority of the races against an RQ90 is freaking ridiculous. So yeah, it's pretty obvious, man. This thing is 100% Blossom choice. If you have this car in the game, congratulations, you got that standard tire meta on lock. Best in city streets, medium, twisty tracks, Monaco G-Force, hairpin, and twisty road. And not just the best in its niche, it's the best in the entire game. For its niche, I guess, standard tires. But yeah, things bloody amazing, dude. All right, moving on. The Mitsubishi i-MiEV Evolution. All right, let us begin. Against rear-wheel drive cars that are lightweight and handle very well, the Mitsubishi i-MiEV is kind of garbage. But I know, I get it. I mean, it loses to the Don Comfort, Altima, Caterham, Suzuki, BMW M3CS, and the Fast. But I get it. I really shouldn't be competing the Mitsubishi against rear-wheel drive performance tire cars. After all, the Mitsubishi is four-wheel drive. I just wanted to see how good the Mitsubishi i-MiEV, why are the names so annoying? The toy car, whatever it is. The Mitsubishi ABC, I'm calling it that, I don't care. Mitsubishi ABC, I just want to see how good it was going to be. So I put it outside of its comfort zone. Yeah, I kind of faltered a little bit, but within its own niche of four-wheel drive cars, this thing is ridiculous. As you can see, it is the best. It's RQ74 and it beats everything. Beats the Volvo C30, which is Blossom choice, the Lamborghini Gallardo, the Jaguar F-Type, the RS3, on everything that matters, on the twisty stuff. On the fast circuit, really doesn't matter. You know, the Jaguar is the best for that, and you know, congratulations, it beats all the other cars, the Audis and the Porsches and the Lamborghinis and all that kind of stuff. But what really matters is that the Mitsubishi ABC wins on absolutely everything, and it's so much cheaper than everything else. And in fact, this car is so damn good, I actually compared it to the Legendaries. Oh, but I'll get to that in a bit. One more thing is the comparison in the wet, and as you can see, the Mitsubishi is still ever so dominant, only losing on the fast circuit. But hey, the Mitsubishi ABC knows what it wants to be. It literally knows what it wants to be. It's a twisty specialist for, you know, four-wheel drive, wet and dry. It is amazing. Now, to be fair, this has performance tires in the game right now. I'm not sure if it should get slick tires. I feel like it should get slick tires, but even if it has slick tires, there ain't no denying that this thing is ridiculous on this niche. Anyway, moving on. Like I said, I wanted to compare it to Legendaries. For the most part, I think a lot of people would have the Mitsubishi ABC Max, but not a lot of people would have these Legendaries Max. So I'm going to compare this at 111, and as you can see, the Mitsubishi is still better. Some people might argue that this is not a fair comparison, but again, you know, although those legendaries are 111, I'm only doing 90 RQ and above, man. I'm only doing 90 RQ and above, and yeah, can't even get close, honestly. Cannot even get close. So yeah, the Mitsubishi ABC is ridiculous. Definitely going to be Blossom choice. Even if it goes to slick tires, it's still going to be fantastic regardless. All right, moving on, the penultimate car of the series is the Mitsubishi L200 Triton Sport R. Now, the direct competitor for this car is the Ford Bronco Concept. That is also a Blossom choice right now. As you can see, they tie on slalom. The Mitsubishi Triton beats the Bronco on G-force, twisty road, twisty circuit, hairpin road. Not in the motocross though. The motocross still goes to the Bronco Concept, but it wins everywhere else. I want to see how good it is, and compared to all, you know, ultra rare four-wheel drive or all ultra rare high ground clearance cars, because I know that the Hyundai is not high ground clearance. I mean, it's not four-wheel drive, but it's high ground clearance. It's pretty good. It's still the best car for G-force, best car for slalom. The power box ever so dominant after it got off-road tires as a massive buff. That being said though, very, very impressive. Let's take away those higher end cars and let's only go from RQ56 and below. Again, you know, the Fiat Abarth 500, you know, like I said, the super rares, you got to find that, you know, sweet spot where, you know, the four-wheel drives become more useful, and I think that's in epics and above. When it comes to ultra rares, those rear-wheel drive cars are still better on those four-wheel drive cars when it comes to off-road tires. Only that being said though, the L200 is still the best car on the G-force, which is very impressive. Moving on now is, I think, the snow and sand as always, and as you can see, the Mitsubishi Triton Sport R is the best car on the snow, beating your Opals, your Swifts, all your rear-wheel drive off-roader cars, and it's still really good on the G-force. I mean, this thing is just really good simply on the G-force. So yeah, the Triton is amazing. Honestly, it may be Blossom choice. I think it is going to beat out the Bronco. I mean, to be fair, the Bronco is 2 RQ cheaper, but your Mitsubishi L200 is the best option to go for now for low RQ off-road four-wheel drive and snow twisties. So take away the Fiats, it's going to be the best car for like RQ 56 or 57 and below for four-wheel drive high ground clearance off-roaders, and when it comes to the snow, it is going to be the best, unless you put in the RQ 64s, and it's not even fair to compare an RQ 64 to an RQ 52. So it's an amazing bargain. Anyway guys, once again, thank you so much for supporting the series. We're now moving on to our final car, the last car of overrated or overpowered, and we're gonna end with one of the most overpowered cars, if not the most overpowered car in this update, the Hyundai Genesis PM580T. You know, the dark horse from New Zealand of all places. Yeah. It's ridiculous. It's RQ95. It's RQ95, and it's beating out RQ99s, 98s, 96s. It's honestly got a clean sweep against the prize car, Apollo Intenza Emozione. Now, I know what you're saying. It's not fair. I can't compare slick tires to performance tires. Shut up. When it comes to, you know, this super high range, the best means you are the best. And I am, you know, the best means you got to be the best in a general sense. That's what I meant. But I am also comparing it to slick tire cars like the Porsche GT2 Club Sport, the Pagani Zonda Revolution, which is also a prize car, the Porsche 935, the Brabham piece of shit. And yeah, dude, this thing is just ridiculous. It's not even fair to compare this to other 95s because it will beat all 95s. It will beat the Vulcan and the P1 and the Audi R8, which is slick tires. And I have to compare it to higher range cars. Even in drag scenarios, the Genesis is still relatively competent. Best car in the quarter mile, best car in the 0 to 100, and best car on the 0 to 120. Obviously, on the longer drags, it's going to suffer because it doesn't have a high top speed, but this is a car that knows what it wants to be. It literally beats the same cars that you see here on a drag: Porsche GT2 Club Sport, Zonda Revolution, the Brabham with the, you know, so-called 110 MRA. Like, it's ridiculous. So much so that if I want the Hyundai to look bad, I have to put it up against these cars. If I want the Hyundai to look bad, I would have to put it up up against the Mercedes-Benz C11, which is one of the best prize cars of the year. The BAC Mono, one of the best prize cars of the year. The McLaren P1 GTR, where it beats the Genesis on the fast circuits. The Hennessy Venom GT, the Pagani Huayra R. I mean, again, like 95s, I'm comparing it up against 97s, 98s, 90, and 101. Like, it's ridiculous. Obviously, it's not going to beat cars like the Peugeot 905B or the Peugeot T16, but the fact that we're even thinking about putting the Hyundai Genesis against those cars is a compliment in itself. So yes, the Hyundai Genesis PM580 is ridiculous. It is the best non-prize, legend rear-wheel drive slick tire car. It beats a lot of performance tire cars as well on twisty track sets and the quarter mile, and it is without a doubt Blossom choice, a direct replacement to the Pagani Zonda R. But anyway, guys, that's going to be it for today. That's going to be it for the series. Let me know down in the comments below if you had a great time. I hope you found it informational, and once again, if you would like to support me further, my Patreon links will be down in the description below. But anyway, guys, I hope you guys have a great day. I'm going to stay safe, wash your hands, and blossom out. Peace.
Bro, this song just makes me so happy.
Me too.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly. Got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly. Got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
Sit back, relax in my Bonneville Pontiac. Hold tight all night, cruise to Jacksonville.